Hey everyone, welcoming you all. So today we are going to understand the other two clauses of Article 13. So in our previous video, I have explained the first one and two clauses of Article 13, which talks about pre and post constitutional law. So in today's video, we are going to understand the other two clauses that Article 13 have. So let's know what is in Article 13 Clause 3 and Clause 4. So this is the kind of text that we get to see in the Constitution or in the Bad Act itself. So basically first we'll just read it, then we will try to decode what has been written under this kind of statement. So Article 13 Clause 3 talks about, in this article, unless the context otherwise requires, law includes any ordinances, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom or usages having in the territory of India the force of law. So here you can see Article 13 explicitly talks about the definition of law and what would be the other requirement or other things that will considered as law, which will include any kind of ordinances, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom or uses having in the territory of India the force of law. So basically law means these are the words only which has been defined under Article 13 in Clause 3, and under Clause 3b it has been written the definition of laws in force. Laws in force include laws passed or made by a legislature or other competent authority who has the power to make such law and which will be applicable within the territory of India or in that particular area in the territory of India before the commencement of this constitution and not previously repealed, notwithstanding that any such law or any part thereof may not be then in operation either at all or in particular areas. So Article 13 is basically the protector of fundamental rights. So in Article 13 clause 1 we get to know the definition of law, and B talks about that any laws in force made by any competent authority which has been not repealed earlier before the commencement of its constitution will be repealed or will be void if they are contravening our fundamental right and will not be applicable at all or in particular area. So these two talks about definition of law and laws in force, and again how fundamental rights will be protected under Article 13. Then we have clause 4 which has been inserted by 24th amendment. Earlier we used to have only 3 clauses under Article 13. So after the 24th amendment act the clause has been inserted. This was again get challenged in many cases. So here as we got to know, Article 4 talks about nothing in this article shall apply to any amendment of this constitution made under Article 368. So Article 368, which falls under Part 20 of Indian Constitution, talks about the amendment procedure by using what we can amend anything in the Constitution, including fundamental rights. So this article says this, nothing in this article shall apply to any amendment of the Constitution made under Article 368. So this is basically said that if we are having the provision under Article 368, the amendment procedure, so on that note we can do anything to our constitution including fundamental rights, so and that will not be covered under Article 13. So basically Article 13 is not accepting 368 under it, and it says that we are not accepting you. So any laws made under after the commencement of the constitution through an amendment procedure or the constitutional amendment will not over the definition of under Article 13. So this is the kind of clauses that Article 13 talks about. So relating to Article 13 we have many case laws, so we will try to discuss some of them here. So now let's understand how we can memorize the things in a easiest format. So Article 3 basically talks about the definition of law and the definition of laws in force. So here I have written a statement O2 brings red rose for Nosy. So here he is O2 and her name is Rossi. Nosy. So by this way we can memorize what will be the words that will fall under law. So here O2, O stands for ordinances, stands for order, B stands for bylaws, R stands for rule, and R stands for regulation, and N stands for notification, C stands for custom. As you can see, some are in capital, some are in small letter format. So if it is in capital format, then you need to understand that that particular letter is relating to the kind of thing that we have in Article 13, Clause 3. So here let us memorize it once again. So the sentence says O2 brings redress for Nosy. O2 order and ordinances. B stands for bylaws. R stands for rule. R stands for regulation. N stands for notification and or custom. So this way we can memorize the kind of word that has been written under law. And again, there is one thing that personal laws will not be covered under Article 13. Again, this statement is the controversy one, and in many cases talks about whether they should be included under Article 13 or not. Now let's talk about the important case laws relating to Article 13. So first we have Sankari Prasad case, when Supreme Court has said that Constitutional Amendment Act isn't law under Part 13 of Indian Constitution. Therefore, Parliament has all the right to do any amendment under Article 368 relating to any provision of the Constitution. Therefore, Parliament is enjoying a lot of power to do anything to the Constitution. Then again, we have another important case, that is Golaknath case. What happened in this case? Supreme Court has overruled his earlier decision given in Sankari Prasad case and says that yes, Parliament can amend anything relating to the Constitution which is given under Article 360, but they cannot touch or do anything to the fundamental right. So in this case, fundamental right has been given the title of sacrosanct, meaning too important. Therefore, Parliament cannot do anything or cannot touch fundamental rights while doing any kind of amendment relating to the Constitution. So again, after the decision, Parliament was quite upset and come up with another amendment act, that is 24 Amendment Act, which state that any constitutional amendment made after the commencement of the Constitution under Article 368 will not fall under the provision of Article 13. Therefore, they are not protected under Article 13. So next we have fundamental rights case or Kesavananda Bharati case, where we got our very important doctrine, basic structure doctrine. So let's see what happened in this case. So in this case, again the court stated that Constitutional Amendment Act isn't law and therefore will not fall under the protection or under the shelter of Article 13. Earlier, again, it gives Parliament immense power to do anything relating to the Constitution through the amendment procedure. But here, in this case, the court has come with a balanced situation or balanced kind of judgment. They stated that yes, Parliament can do anything to amend the Constitution without harming the basic structure doctrine. So here, Supreme Court didn't directly restricted Parliament to stop making any kind of law which may affect the fundamental rights. Instead of that, they said that Parliament can make anything but without the basic structure doctrine. So now how we'll know what are the kind of categories or what are the things that falls under basic structure doctrine. So as we all know that basic structure doctrine have various list under it. Again, fundamental right is a important feature of basic structure doctrine. So indirectly, Supreme Court had limited Parliament power to do anything to relating to the fundamental rights. So these are the important case law that falls under the cover of article or under the shelter of Article 13. So let's talk about all the clauses in a row. So Article 13 clause 1 talks about pre-constitutional law, that is after 26 January 1950, and Article 13 clause 2 talk about post constitutional which will come after this date, and they cannot make any law which will take away our fundamental rights. Then Article 13, Clause 3 defined the meaning of law and laws in force. And again Article 4 was inserted by 24th Amendment, which states that nothing in this article shall apply to any amendment of this Constitution made under Article 368. So this is an important thing to remember, because it may come in many questions that when Article uh, under Article 13, Clause 4 was inserted. So it was inserted after or in the by the amendment of 24th. So that's all about how we can memorize Article 13. Here I have tried to cover all the clauses in a systematic manner. Again, Article 13 relating, we have some doctrines or constitutional principle which plays a greater role. We will try to cover them in another video. So that's all for today. Hope I made it clear to you. Thank you for watching the video.